Good morning, everybody. We've started a few minutes early just to see if we're all set up okay. And hopefully you are getting your live stream. I can see me on my Facebook, on my telephone. So looks like it's working. So we will start officially in 1 minute. Everybody wake up. This chair is so comfortable, I'm likely to go to sleep. Okay. Is it done? Good morning, everybody. We are in our live stream, 11 a.m. Unity Myrtle Beach service from Margaret and David Hiller's sunroom. We were going to be on the deck, though the birds are having a convention in the oak tree above the deck, and so we are going to be in the sunroom for today. So we'd like to start with prayer, and I'd like to precede that prayer with a reading from this book, Becoming Planetary People, by Jim Conlon, a Catholic priest. I met him when I went to a retreat at Springbank a few years ago. So Jim Conlon writes this about the threshold of beauty. We experience and re-experience the beauty of new life. Each incarnational moment becomes a portal to the sacred. I'd like to invite us this morning as we share this time together that we see this present moment that we're all experiencing together as a portal to the sacred. He says each moment takes us to a fresh incarnational moment. A place where the God of your understanding, the divine intelligence, the one presence that Unity calls it, this one presence comes to life in our midst when we open ourselves to the incarnational moment. We see that the divine is present in every molecule of existence, every tree, every mountain, every river. In the heartbeat of every searching soul, life takes on a quest for the divine and heals our sacred world. So I invite us to contemplate, ponder those words that we are making ourselves available right now to this incarnational moment where the divine, the one presence, the Holy Spirit, fully expresses through us, through the consciousness that, the highest consciousness that we know at this time. We take our deep healing breath and we breathe into this idea that this is a threshold of beauty, a sacred moment, a portal to awakening. As we take another deep breath, a deep healing breath, we allow ourselves to deepen into that place of peace that passes all human understanding. We deepen into the place of wisdom, creativity, awareness of our oneness with the one presence. We deepen into this intention to have eyes to see and ears to hear what is available to us in this moment. We call forth healing and peace for each one of us and all that we're holding in our hearts. Healing, peace, strength, stamina. For so many people doing their part to help move our species forward through this moment and all the moments to come. We remember in this moment we are the light of the world, beyond all circumstances, beyond all events. We are the light of the world. And so as we open our eyes, I invite you to look at something in your environment right now that brings you peace, healing, hope, strength. For me right now, I'm looking out the window at our fig tree that is leafing by the second. It's greening. Everything's greening right now, and she is doing her part for the greening. So as we move forward, I just invite all of us to consider this idea that this moment that we're experiencing together, we're calling it the coronavirus moment. But bigger than that, it's the awakening moment, it's the deepening moment, it's the healing moment. So I know we're all doing our immune building practices and taking time to laugh, sing, weep, dance. I got a Facebook message from one of our Unity Minister friends that she was dancing in her living room with her dog yesterday. So whatever it takes to increase our energy and build our immune systems, that's included. I have to say I miss all of you this morning, and I'm really missing the Unity Band. So a shout out to all of you musicians and singers who help to lift the energy every Sunday morning at the Unity Myrtle Beach building. So this morning, we just want to set this intention as we go forward that we are being asked to show up and be the light in every moment, no matter what it looks like. And showing up and being the light in these moments that feel hard or fearful or confusing or upsetting, that's when the practice really gets interesting. And as David and I have been discussing around here the last few weeks, we need to pull out all the stops on our spiritual practices, pull out all the stops on how you feel oneness with one presence, with Holy Spirit, with the birds. There's a cardinal wanting to come in the window, honey. Look at him. Oh, maybe that's a beautiful visitation from the angelic realm. Okay, so it's a powerful time to seize the opportunity for a retreat. Remember the film we showed at the church a few years ago called The Dhamma Brothers, and it was about the Vipassana meditation folks who took that practice into a maximum security prison and taught these men who had no idea if they would ever be released from prison, and they went into silence for 10 days learning Vipassana meditation. And one of them in the film later said that he felt more free and more peace during those 10 days of quiet and peace and silence and practicing this form of meditation. He said he felt more peace than ever, and he felt more connected with the one presence than ever. And he was sitting in a prison. So I hope that all of us are seizing the irony of this moment that we've been given a retreat. I talked with Cynthia Swanson yesterday. I asked her how she was doing. She said, I'm on retreat. So it's a time to be on retreat. A lot of us take our themselves away on retreat on purpose for 3 or 4 days. I do every year to either Mayor Baba Center or Springbank or other beautiful places of retreat. So right now our retreat is in the silence, the solitude of this experience, showing up and being the light no matter what's happening around us. So I'd like to read the daily word, and the affirmation for today is inner peace, perfect. I find the peace of God in the silence within me. I find the peace of God in the silence within me. The Hebrew scriptures tell us the story of the prophet Elijah, who was told to stand on the mountain, for the Lord is about to pass by. And as he waits, Elijah fails to find God as he endures a wind strong enough to split mountains. He endures an earthquake and then a fire. And then Elijah says he discovers the presence of God and the sound of sheer silence. And that's our founder, Charles Fillmore, found the one presence in silence and stillness. So sometimes chaos surrounds us as we try to find the peace of God. Other times the chaos may be inside of us, and we persist in our efforts to confront the inner storms, the fires, the earthquakes as we search for peace. Isn't that what these last few weeks have been about for many? Like Elijah, I remain steadfast in faith, undisturbed by what is happening around me. I wait for distractions to pass. Peace is mine. And from the book of 1 Kings, after the earthquake, a fire, the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the Lord was in the sheer silence. So I'd like to remember with you this morning that we are in the days of Lent. We are moving towards the time of Easter. It's the time of year where the greening is happening. As Hildegard de Bingen pointed out, all of life is greening and being enlivened and expressing the fullness. I'd like to share with you what Charles Fillmore says in his book, Keep a True Lent. And he talks about this, the Mount of Transfiguration. Excuse me, you remember the story. The Mount of Transfiguration is when Jesus went up to the mountain to pray, and he went with James and Paul and Peter. And during that experience, while Jesus was praying, the 3 disciples saw Jesus, his countenance just light up. They said, like the noonday sun. He was transfigured, as the story goes. And whether you see this as literal or as a metaphor, for me the power of the story is the same. That Jesus expressed the fullness of his light to be seen by others. We're told by Charles Fillmore that the transfiguration is always preceded by a change of mind. I wonder how many of us have been doing our inner work these last few weeks and noticing when we are in fear or when we are in trust and faith, when we're in fear, when we're in love, when we're in peace, when we're in non-peace. Are we staying present and paying attention to how we're expressing the magnificence of who we are, or how we're expressing the fearful ego natures of who we are? So transfiguration, Fillmore says, is always preceded by a change of mind. And in transfiguration, ideas are lifted from the material to the spiritual. He goes on to say that going up into the mountain to pray means an elevation of thought, an an aspiration from the mortal to the spiritual viewpoint, what I like to call getting God perspective. Or some of us ask the question, what is God up to in this? Or what is one presence up to in this? Or we might say, what is happening in the evolution of our species through moments like this one that we're experiencing globally right now? Jesus gave his disciples a glimpse of his radiant body when he was transfigured before them. His face did shine as the sun, and his garments became white as the light. So what if we saw this moment as a moment of our own transfiguration? What if we saw this moment as a really powerful time? I've always felt that the time of Easter, time of Palm Sunday, I've always loved this time of year. I can always feel my own personal inner work happening at a much deeper level. Of course, this is the spiritual path that I was trained in, that I came out of. I see these stories as powerful for us to look to for our own growth, our own deepening, our own awakening. So what if we see this moment as a time of our own transfiguration? What if this is a powerful opportunity? When else was our world all at the same time going to stop and take a pause? Many of us taking a pause to reflect and contemplate how we want to be in the world and how we want our world to be. What if this is, I'm so sorry to keep clearing my throat. It is allergies or the pollen. I'm at one with the pollen. And I insist on having the windows open, so that's the way that works at our house. So what if we're incarnating the light, and what if we're transfiguring fear to light? What if we're transfiguring fear and uncertainty and confusion? What if we're transfiguring that into expressing the fullness of the light that we are? What if we are being asked to take up full residence as eternal spiritual beings into this physical form? What if we're being asked to express as the light of the world in a way that we've never done before? Here's what Charles Fillmore said about the fourth dimension. This is one of my favorite pieces of writing by Charles Fillmore. He says, we have within ourselves a greater capacity, an infinitely greater magnitude that stretches back to infinity itself, that we can form new combinations, rearrange the three-dimensional world, and thereby continue indefinitely to develop new possibilities from an inexhaustible storehouse of elements. We have within ourselves a greater capacity, an infinitely greater magnitude that stretches back to infinity itself. We can form new combinations of energy, rearrange the three-dimensional world, continue indefinitely to develop new possibilities for our species. Here's a few thoughts that I reflected on the back deck a few days ago. There are times of openings and closings throughout the ages, meaning portals to our awakening. We're told in the scriptures that the Spirit would be poured out upon the entire planet, that the windows of heaven would be open, that Spirit would pour out blessings so great that we would not be able to contain them. What happens in these transfiguration moment, what happens in these awakening moments, is they're often accompanied by fear. And so what we look at is important. So we continue to make up stories of fear, or we open to this threshold of beauty before us, this incredibly beautiful moment of awakening. So there's openings and closings throughout the ages, always accompanied by the opportunities to wake up, sometimes accompanied by struggle, by chaos, by confusion. I'd like to suggest we're also in a sacred moment of miracles and wonders. I've been singing Paul Simon's song this week. This is the age of miracles and wonders from his album Graceland, one of my favorite. These are the days of miracles and wonders. This is a long distance call. I can hear some of you singing it right now. These are the days when mystics and mindful ones name and narrate and put to music and poetry what is happening. And what is happening can feel fearful. I'm going to suggest that you and I have the capacity, as Charles Fillmore reminds us, that we have capacities that stretch all the way back to infinity. We have the capacity for transfiguration. We have the capacity to use this incarnational moment to be awake, to be alive, and to express the light that we are. This is a journey through awakening. And there's going to be shaking and quaking as we awake collectively. There will be many ways to describe and interpret what's been happening, but this is one moment preceded by many, 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 many other opportunities for the awakening of our world and our time right now. And I want to suggest that we stay watchful for the good. I want to suggest that we stay watchful for the beautiful things that are unfolding. I remember years ago I was at a conference in LA, a conference put on by Harvard Medical School called Spirituality and Healing in Medicine. I was there with a lot of other clergy, a lot of psychiatrists, psychotherapists, people who were wanting to find ways to bring healing into the field of medicine. And Herb Benson was one of the speakers, Dr. Herb Benson, founder of the Mind Body Institute at Harvard. He wrote The Faith Factor years ago. He researched the transcendental meditators, finding all the benefits for increasing the health of our immune systems while we meditate and go into prayer. Herb Benson, in his presentation that day, spoke to us about the placebo effect and how the power of our minds, the power of our beliefs, the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, all unity teaching, affected the outcome and the way we go through our experiences, whether it's illness of the body, whether it's confusion of the mind. Our thoughts impact us in powerful ways. He said that often when a patient would create what some would call a miracle, they would defy a medical verdict, and the outcome would be totally different from what the medical people were thinking would happen, that often the medical people would write on the chart only the placebo effect. Herb Benson was pretty upset about this. He leaned across the podium and looked out at this 1,000-member group of researchers and scientists, and he said, "My God, what have we done? We've discounted the power of the mind. We've discounted the power of the human spirit to create miracles, to create remarkable outcomes, to create possibilities that go way beyond what people predict." He reminded us that we have the capacity to go beyond the verdicts at every moment. And right now, I want to go beyond what this virus is creating in the world. I want to know that healing is happening at every moment, by the way, whether whether a soul leaves the body or stays in the body, whether there's cure for the virus or not. We're eternal spiritual beings. This goes to the point of healing the fear of our species. We are so afraid. We create drama so intensely that we disturb our immune systems, we disturb our minds, and sometimes I wonder, are we in an insane asylum or an ashram? It feels like we're being taken to our knees to do our spiritual work, to find our places of healing, and we are watching our species awaken from a bad, bad dream. I want to invite all of us to consider that we have a responsibility. If we have been at all in even a millisecond, even a moment, the twinkling of an eye moment, if we have experienced oneness at all with the one presence, with God, with Holy Spirit, if we've experienced 1 millisecond of oneness with our human family, please remember what that feels like and do it as much as possible. Keep going into the oneness. That to me is the highest form of prayer. Keep going into the oneness. Keep going into that place of peace. Keep knowing oneness with our species, with Holy Spirit, with the one presence. This is what brings us into awakening, whether we stay in the body or leave the body. It's always going to be something, as Gilda Radner said. It's always going to be something that we can make up the scariest stories about. So we want to know that this is a time when we hold all of us in prayer for our physical healing, our emotional and mental healing, our spiritual well-being. We want to hold in consciousness the well-being of all the workers on the front lines of any crisis, of any upsetting event. But this is so much bigger than the virus. This is the healing of fear for our species. So I want to right now read you a writing from Rumi, and I invite you to listen at the deepest, most awakened level that you can. You wander from room to room, hunting for the diamond necklace that is already around your neck. You suppose you are the trouble, but you are the cure. You suppose that you are the lock on the door, but you are the key that opens it. It's too bad that you want to be someone else, or that you want to be somewhere else. You don't see your own face, your own beauty, yet no face is more beautiful than yours. What if we're the cure? And what if the cure is you and I expressing our light in more powerful ways than we've ever expressed before? What if you and I are the cure? Blessings to all the researchers who are working tirelessly on the antiviral for this current virus. And what if you and I are the cure to bring peace and light in the world in more powerful ways? What if you are the cure? What if you are the cure? So I invite us all now to take a deep healing breath. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And with that deep healing breath, I invite you to deepen into the place where you do know that you are the healing cure. You are the beautiful light of the world. The beautiful light of the world that expresses through your words, your countenance, your responses, your thoughts. You are the cure. You're the one that our world has been waiting for. You're being invited to, as an eternal spiritual being, to take up full residence in your physical form. The very molecules and cells and atoms of your being are lighted up so much that people turn to look at the light that you express. That others pause for a moment to sit in the presence of your light. As the Hopis say, we are the ones we've been waiting for. The cure is to transfigure fear, transform fear, recalibrate fear into peace and love. That was always the cure. This present moment helps to remind us once again that we are the cure and we're the light of the world. I love you all. I bless you all. I appreciate you all. And I behold the Christ in all of us. And I invite you to look into the mirror today, into your own eyes. See yourself as the light of the world. See yourself as the cure. See yourself as the healing. See yourself as the peace. This is who you are. This is who you've come to be. We are the light. Namaste.